Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Pocket Edition, the bite-sized podcast that you can take with you on the go. No excuses. Load us up. Take us with you. And today I'm joined by Max and Mark. And first, I'll say hello to Mark first so he does not botch the intro again. What's going on, Mark?
Thanks for being considerate. Everything's good on my end.
Dandy. How are you, Max?
I'm good as well. I've had a long day. I had to come downtown and clean up my apartment for a subletter who told me he wants to move in this weekend, like early this morning. And I can't be there any other day this weekend, so I kind of had to rush down here and get everything cleaned out of my old apartment. But that is done. I am now chilling and excited to talk about the topic. So we're good. I'm good. Everything is good. Yes,
so
sir.
You're back home now, right? Back with
No,
the
I'm at the
parents,
apartment.
are you?
I moved
okay.
home. I moved home,
very
but
nice.
I'm at the apartment right now.
So home-cooked meals, more space, get your laundry done. Sounds pretty sweet. What have you been up to, Mark? I believe you went to a event on Thursday.
Yeah, I was invited by IGN and got a chance to play Assassin's Creed Origins on the Xbox One X before release. So it was two big things before they're allowed for the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So how does that work? How did you get invited by IGN? Like, was it an IGN event?
Yeah, so it was an IGN event sponsored by Ubisoft, but I got in good with some of the IGN staff a while ago.
Oh, wow.
Since then, a lot of those staff have changed, but I'm still on the roster as a Risen Culture. So they just call me in every now and again. Say like, "Hey, you want to play this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to play that."
Yes, I do.
Here's an invite. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. So how's it holding up, Assassin's Creed? Is it meeting expectations? Is it another Assassin's Creed Unity?
No, it's definitely not another Unity. I've had a hit and miss sort of relationship with Assassin's Creed, and I'm sort of like on the down slope of that whole thing. But it is improved. It definitely has shown improvement, and it is a better game as a whole. But I'm still not 100% sold on it because it is still very much the same game that I had played almost a dozen times before.
You see, I loved the series, but where it fell off for me was after number one.
Oh,
Wait,
wow.
really?
I was done after number one. I've had enough. I just loved it. It just lost me straight away with the sequels.
Wait, you liked 1 over 2?
I did.
What?
I played so much of number one, and I think I burnt out on number one. Like, I played the living shit out of it, and number two came along, and I was like, too hard basket, can't be bothered. And then it just lost me. I was done.
I've never heard that opinion before.
Sequelitis, man. Sequelitis, it's real.
That's amazing.
Oh, anyway, guys, let's jump into the topic of the day. And what if I told you that a Swiss credit company called Credit Suisse has recently revised its Nintendo Switch sales and increased it by 85% for lifetime sales up to 130 million units.
I believe you.
Let me point out to you guys that 130 million units is more than the Nintendo Wii lifetime sales. I believe the Wii ended at about 101 million units.
The reason I believe that this is entirely possible is because while the Wii was great, it was great at first, but it sort of fell off because parents and all the casual market that it really appealed to, they liked it for Wii Sports and that was about it. You know, they bought it for Wii Sports and then they were done. Or like people's friends had it and they went and go played it there. Whereas like the people in the gaming industry or the people who pay attention to this kind of stuff who still continue to pick up these systems like a couple years in, who maybe have kept an eye on it but waited, they didn't really feel a need to pick up the Wii afterwards maybe. And like, again, the casuals, they already got one by the time they got it. Whereas the Switch this time around, it has absolutely killer software, unquestionably, and there's more to become. Like Super Mario Odyssey is arguably going to be one of the best games of the year, and that's saying a lot, especially with all the games that have come out already, and it's coming at the end of the year too. It's going to be like one of the last games to come out. And the Nintendo Switch, not only that, it's also something, it's the first time in my opinion that we've seen real innovation in the console space in quite a bit. Like it's actually a blend between a handheld and a console. Like no other consoles like that. And we all know how well handhelds sell in the first place. Handhelds sell ridiculously high. Handhelds are always good, especially Nintendo handhelds. Well, okay, let me correct myself. The Vita and the PSP handhelds were not good. Nintendo's handhelds have always done very well. And this is Nintendo's handheld, but with all of their killer software that was always on like the GameCube and everything else like that. It's like the perfect blend between the two. Now we get our favorite games on like the GameCube and the Nintendo 64, the Wii, even the great games on the Wii U, despite how bad that system did. Now we can play them on the go and potentially third-party titles now that we have Doom and everything else coming to Switch and Skyrim. Are you kidding me? Skyrim on the go? Like, that's insane.
So checking box for 130 million units for Max. No, I think it's got a real chance of hitting that number. And I think when you look at the Wii as well, the Wii in terms of its lifetime sales, I think the Wii hit at a time when, it's pretty general knowledge now that casual gaming wasn't really a thing. You know, it came before pre-iPhone, pre-smartphone. The casual market hadn't exploded. And I think the motion controls captured the fascination of the casual gamer, and it was a social console as well. People loved playing sports, Wii bowling. I loved it, but I think you're right. You know, after that, it collected dust. The Wii did have some fantastic titles, definitely. Like I had some quality Zelda and Mario games, 100%. I owned one. I played those games. They were really good. And I think you're more or less on the money about the Switch as well. But I think the Switch, I think you're right. If it can capture the handheld market, I think there's a very strong possibility it's going to hit that 130 million prediction. Look at the 3DS sales. Look how well that's been tracking. And then compare the 3DS to what the Switch is capable of. It's astronomical what the Switch can do in comparison to the 3DS. And that's incredibly attractive. You know, something that's relentlessly more powerful than the 3DS, being able to take games on the go. And for me, recently, the game that really highlights this for me is Doom. Like, I just saw Doom and I was just like, okay, we're actually going there. Like, holy crap, like I need to get one of these. This is amazing. Just being able to play Doom in bed late at night, it's got me. That's amazing. I think you're right. I think the Nintendo Switch's software lineup's only going to get stronger and stronger now that the sales have been quite good. And I think we're going to reach a tipping point where it's just going to snowball. You know, we're going to see third-party developers jumping on left, right, and center, and hopefully we get new and interesting, unique IPs exclusive to the system as well. And it's just going to snowball. For me, what the success really hinges on, and I actually covered this on my channel a few months ago before the system launched, was Nintendo's ability to roll in the 3DS essence. You know, if they can bake in the true handheld portable essence that they've had on previous Nintendo systems, the Switch is a home run. We know Nintendo owned the portable market. It's still a market, otherwise they wouldn't be releasing a hybrid console. And I think if you could take, like we know the 3DS is winding up now, it's going to wind up. And I think Nintendo have been a little bit coy as to what the future is for their portable lineup. They seem to be kind of sitting us on the fence saying, well, the 3DS is going to be around for a while. We're not ready to talk about anything else. But I guarantee if the Switch takes off, dedicated portable line, gone. Switch is the future. If the Switch fails, you're going to see the 3DS successor. And I think that's why we haven't heard what's next, because they're waiting to see how it pans out. And if the Switch does take off, we're going to see all these 3DS developers and studios and devs get rolled into development for Nintendo Switch titles. And for me, that's when the Switch comes into its own.
It is, and they're bringing Game Freak on to make the next Pokemon game for it, which is like, there you go. That's exactly what you just said.
Definitely. What do you make of all this, Mark? You've got a Switch.
Yeah, I do. I bought it launch day. I think the whole Switch succeeding and having 130 million total sales, it's definitely possible. But I think it'll depend on a few factors. And I think that the immediate one is its price point, because it might be succeeding in all this, but it's still priced as a console, and a pretty pricey one at that. It definitely is a strong console and a great handheld, but it's somewhere in this weird zone, like it's its strength and its weakness, being that handheld console hybrid, because people aren't really sure how much to spend for it.
Yeah, it's very true. It's a massive grey area. And I think in terms of price, I would say that the system would definitely or easily come down in price. When you look at the technology in the Switch, you know, they're making money on it already, right? Nintendo don't sell things at a loss, so they're making money on the Switch now. And when you look at the technology in the Switch, being the Tegra chip, in a couple of years' time, like that's going to be very affordable to manufacture. But I have a feeling, being Nintendo, we won't see that passed on to the consumer, that saving. Nintendo have a track record of having a premium pricing on a lot of their products.
I have a question for you guys. You're saying you guys, well, Mark specifically, you say the Switch is a lot of money for a console, right? Here, it's $299, which is like pretty cheap for a console. Is it significantly more expensive over in Australia?
How does that compare to the PS4 and the Xbox One?
Those launched at 500.
Okay, so here I believe we can get a bundle on the Switch for $450. Is that about right, Mark?
Yeah, 450 base if it's not a bundle. It's 480, which is really weird.
Wow, so it's significantly more expensive over there.
I mean, the Wii U here was still floating around the 350 to 400 mark, I believe, when we knew the console was dead in the water. Like, we're talking 6 months ago.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating to me.
So, I mean, obviously, Mark brings up a very valid point. Obviously in Australia, we're being absolutely taken for a ride.
Yeah.
At least with Nintendo anyway. So what else do we see holding back the Switch in terms of reaching this prediction? Is there anything else in your head that goes, this has to be rectified before it has any chance of reaching 130 million units?
Yeah, actually, we brought it up slightly in the Switch Direct episode. It's sort of the uncertainty of its next 2 years, because it's had a very strong 2017 with a new Zelda, new Mario, and a lot of third-party support on the way, like with Bethesda. But it's still sort of uncertain what we're really getting 2018, because they might be making that new Pokemon, but we don't know if it's guaranteed next year. It might be 2019 for all we know.
Yeah, just throw us a bag of carrots, Nintendo. Come on, just let us know what's happening 2 years from now. Like, tease us. That's all they have to do. Another kind of point that I think is worth bringing up is, again, the storage capacity of the Switch. What do you guys make of that in terms of them having multiple AAA titles on the system and longevity of the system? Like, how many freaking SD cards do we need to buy? Surely people have a breaking point.
Mark, you want to take that one first?
Yeah.
Since you have one.
Yeah, initially I was like, this is going to be a mess. But you've just got to find, like, I did a lot of research, which was the important thing. If you just go out and buy a Switch, then you're kind of doomed. You're going to need to do a bit of research first. And I was like, okay, what is the sort of general file size? And so some of the games were like 20 gigs, like for Zelda and things like that. And I was just like, I should probably play it safe and get like a 200 gigabyte SD, because that wasn't ridiculous, and they had a sale on at the time. Those are two separate things. But a lot of people are sort of leading towards some of the Nintendo branded or Nintendo advertised like 1 terabyte and things like that. But that might be a bit excessive. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the Switch might be dead by then as well. And how much is that going to cost? A Nintendo branded SD card, 1 terabyte. That's ridiculous. Like 200 something gig costs a lot of money. Like, we're talking upwards of $100, right? For a 200 gigabyte SD card. So you're paying half the price of the system again just for storage.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, like, if we get what we want to happen for the system, like if it gets its positive outcome in future, where we have developers bringing over, just that avalanche of like titles that we hope it gets, how are we going to keep up with storage? Like, maybe it doesn't affect sales, but maybe it becomes the number one negative drawback for the Switch, and people going, oh fuck, I can't be bothered anymore. Well, I can't buy any more games because I just can't afford the storage.
What if they went into cloud storage? What if Nintendo went into cloud storage? I think that would be a great idea. But I don't think that they're going to do that for the system, which sucks, because I think that will turn people off to a degree. I don't think it'll turn enough off to be a significant dent in their sales.
From the potential sale, yeah.
Correct. Because especially like you're saying like eventually people are going to get fed up with buying SD cards. But the thing is, at that point, they still already have the Switch. You know what I mean?
It's too late. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we got your money. Ha ha ha.
Exactly. So that's a good point, though, that I also wanted to bring up about the pricing, which I kind of forgot about it. While, yeah, the console is only $300 here, you're going to buy a game, you're going to buy storage, you're going to buy this and that, and it's probably going to end up around $450. But to be fair, when you were buying the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One at launch here in America, you were also getting a game and everything. Like, I think my Xbox One, I ended up spending like $700 total with tax and with games and everything like that as well. So I guess that always happens. But that is something I kind of forgot. Like the Switch, you're not just dropping $300 for the Switch here. You're buying a bunch of extra things, which, yes, that's eventually going to come down. But honestly, no, it's Nintendo. It might actually not come down for a while.
Yeah, that's my fear. I think it's going to stay up there for a long time.
But I do think that it's very worth it. And I think that people do see that value in the Switch. Because especially, I mean, the damn thing sold out when there was one game to play on it. To be fair, if I had the money at the time, I would have bought it right away too, because I believed in the lineup. And I'm going to be honest, when I saw that trailer for Mario Odyssey, like, I don't know, I just knew right away, like, that game is going to be incredible. Like, that trailer just shines. Like, you can tell that game.
Hook, line, and sinker, yeah.
Yeah, no, that game is like a system seller. That was a system seller from the second it was revealed, no question. As was Zelda, you know, it's like, it's not like it just had like one pretty good game. It's like it had one of the games to get at the time.
Yeah, it had 2 killer apps coming in the 1 year, definitely.
Yes, exactly. And if people are buying it now, like imagine when it has a full lineup. Because remember, if you guys remember the 3DS, it did not sell well at first.
Oh, it tanked.
Yeah, but then they suddenly had an awesome lineup. And then now to this day, it's doing fantastic. And the Switch did it without that killer lineup, which is interesting.
It's the attractiveness of the portable nature of the console. The Wii captured the fascination of the casual gamers, whereas I think the Switch, I think it's the complete opposite. They're capturing the fascination and the want of hardcore gamers, and they're piquing their interest by, you know, the ability to take games on the go.
Yeah, it's breaking the jaded gamers. Like, honestly, there are people who are like, oh, gaming isn't innovative, this and that. To be fair, like, it's not that necessarily the games are that different just yet, but the hardware is incredibly different. Like, this is like something we've never seen before in a way. Like, I think there's still some kinks that need to be worked out a little bit. Like, I know Zelda's great, but at the same time, it didn't run super well. So that's something that definitely is going to change over time. But just the fact that the Nintendo Switch can do this alone, and I know, Mark, the battery life isn't the best on it, right? Bringing it portable. It obviously depends on what you play, but what's the battery life? Like 3 hours average?
Yeah, 3 to 4, depending on what the game is. It probably needs a bit of work.
Yeah, like, to be fair, that's still, for a handheld, especially the games you're playing, like, that's pretty cool. Like, unless you're on a flight or something, 3 to 4 hours is pretty, like, if you're going on, like, a car ride, that's a significant amount, and you can just bring a portable battery, and that's still things that, like, you need to buy extra, but still, it's pretty cool. But that's something also that, even despite that, people are still jumping on this thing. It definitely has its negatives, like any hardware, you know, but it just seems like people are just blatantly ignoring them almost just to buy it because it's that cool, in my opinion. And that's something that I think Nintendo knew from the start. I think they really saw the system and they were like, because they looked at the Wii U, of course, and they had the idea there to a degree, but they didn't take it all the way. This was them taking that idea and taking it all the way and just going, they had to have known right away, like, this is going to be something cool.
Yeah, they fully realized what they've been trying to do for at least a generation in terms of blending, you know, the home console portable nature, and they fully realized and iterated on top of what other tablet gaming devices were already doing, which kind of failed to fully realize. They brought that kind of Nintendo style and functionality to it, which it's perfect. They know what they're doing. They've got it down pat. Before we wrap it up, guys, have you got any closing thoughts in terms of the 130 million mark? Are you yay, nay, or?
I think that they will be able to hit it as long as they're as consistent as they have been this year, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
I'd say that the way things are looking, totally, you know, because like you said, they have a great year this year. And while we haven't seen much of these upcoming games, we know they're coming. Like the interest is there. There's that Pokemon game that they said is coming next year, but that may get delayed. You know, we know Metroid Prime is coming. Octopath Traveler looks absolutely insane. You know, there are games like that are coming. And like those 3 titles alone, like that's going to generate huge interest. And now that we know third parties are jumping on, like if Bethesda's jumping on, other companies are going to follow, like without question. If they can fit a game like Skyrim or Doom on there, even if it is neutered, like in terms of like graphics and everything, because I've heard Doom doesn't look the best on there, but being able to play it portable totally overshadows that, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. I
completely agree. It's a concession I'm willing to make to be able to play Doom in bed. Definitely, 100%. Hook, line, and sinker. And I completely, I basically agree with you guys as well in terms of the 130 million mark. I think if they can keep riding this hype wave and keep getting us excited about their titles now, I think you're right. Like more developers and studios and publishers are going to follow suit like Bethesda. You know, to me, Doom and Wolfenstein, that was a complete surprise. But that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, it's happening. It's happening. Nintendo have got it. The hype has trickled over. We're on the snowball effect. I think we're going to see more and more developers jumping on board. And once we get the titles, we're going to start seeing Switches fly off the shelf. But I mean, again, I think for me, it still is dependent because they're not going to capture in the same scale the casual market with the Switch. It's not geared towards specifically the casual market. It is basically geared towards Nintendo fans. And the portable market. And I think in order for them to capture the portable market and reach its 130 million units, I do think, we need to see the 3DS kind of slide away, not have a successor, and Nintendo need to double down on the Switch. We need to see all of those developers rolled into the Switch and bring all those titles that we love about the 3DS, like with your Fire Emblems and all that, like best looking Fire Emblem we can get on a portable system. That's where it's at for me, the bread and butter. But anyway, guys, that's a wrap for this Pocket Edition episode. Thanks for joining me, Mark and Max.
You forgot my name.
Yep, I heard it.
I did. I'm sorry. It's still early for me, Max. I'm sorry. Oh, this is an early record for me. But anyway, that's a wrap for this episode. Thanks for joining Max, Mark, and I on this episode of Pocket Edition. Remember, if you've liked any of us in particular, you can find our links down below in the description box. You can also find Max and Mark on the GameCast channel, where you'll also find a variety of other gaming content in the form of news, reviews, podcasts, and other bits and pieces of gaming content, much like Pocket Edition. Until the next episode of Pocket Edition, have a good one.